What's up again, guys? All right, we're back with part 10 of our EQ filter series. And today we're going to cover the high pass filter and the high pass shelving filter. But before I go into that, let's talk about the difference between the two. All right, so a high pass filter, basically what it does is it makes it to where any frequencies, so let's just say we have a high pass filter set at 100 hertz, right? So what's going to happen here is that anything above 100 hertz here is going to be audible. Anything lower than 100 hertz is not audible. It just all goes away, right? So we hear nothing to the left of 100 hertz, but we hear everything from 100 hertz and beyond. Now, a high pass shelving filter, on the other hand, a little bit of a different story, but a lot of the same story too. So now the curve is more asymptotic, I guess you would say. But beyond all of that, there is a cut to the low end frequencies here. However, there's another unique attribute here. Once the low frequencies are cut, you can augment or attenuate the high-end frequencies proportionately. In other words, you can just amplify or degrade the amplitude of those high frequencies. All right, so enough talking about it. Let's demonstrate it for a moment. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate the guitar track of our project. All right, so we have a high pass filter and we have a high pass shelving filter, both of which are deactivated at the moment because, again, I'm just going to demonstrate what they do independent of one another, and this won't take long at all. So why would I want to use, so let's go to the high pass filter. So why would I want to use a high pass filter? Well, if you notice, there's like a lot of low end rumble on the guitar. And that might be a little distracting as it relates to the other low-end frequencies, right? So in order to clear out some of those low-end rumbles that can convolute the mix, I can just use a high-pass filter. So let's see. I happen to know that at about maybe 5 kilohertz. Oh, yeah, but that's all semblance. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start at, we'll start at 1,000 where all the irritating frequencies are. And what we'll do is we'll just sweep through the frequency ranges and find that sweet spot for clarity. All right, so I'm going to play, and then I'll activate the filter. All right, off, now on. And now all we have to do is just find our sweet spot. So this is everything. For harmonics, we can add a little bit of resonance. All right, let's bring it back into the mix. I'll mute the vocals though. Put it on. Let's put it off. And essentially all that did was just get rid of those low end frequencies. So let's turn this one off for a moment. Now let's go to the high pass shelving filter. So if you'll notice, the parameters are synonymous. The only difference here is that we have a gain parameter or a gain dial. So remember, just as I explained before, what we can do is we can set the high pass threshold, and then from there what we can do is we can increase or decrease the amplitude of those high frequencies. So the high pass shelving filter is useful if those high frequencies kind of get buried in the mix. So let's go again. All right, let's start it on. So we're dealing with a lot of the same. And now I can just increase the amplitude of those high frequencies. So in this situation, I would actually prefer using a high pass shelving filter, just simply due to the fact that I can increase the amplitude of those higher frequencies. With a mix this busy, this would probably be the more viable option. So again, the only real difference between one and the other is that the high pass filter simply attenuates or eliminates the low end frequencies to the left of the threshold, whereas the shelving filter does the exact same thing, only it does it gradually, and you have the capability of enhancing, increasing, decreasing, attenuating, accentuating, etc., the high-end frequencies. So with all of that being said, those are your high-pass filter and high-pass shelving filter types. All right, guys, if you have any questions about anything I've covered here today, please let me know. Leave the questions in the comments, and I'll get back with you soon. All right, thanks.